Hello everyone, welcome to another video on my channel. Today's topic revolves around my thoughts about the Vice documentary that was released 2 months ago regarding the Seattle Defund the Police protests and how well, that's working out as of now. Now, just to clear up a couple of things before I start. One, this video was originally much longer than this one probably is going to turn out to be this time around. It was around 17 minutes, not accounting for how long it was unedited. It was originally 22 minutes. And secondly, I don't want my words or my viewpoint to be misconstrued as talking on behalf of one side of the political spectrum. Frankly, I don't identify with either one of them. I just have an opinion based off of what I know regarding the whole topic, right? It's fairly straightforward, I just have an opinion and that's that. All right, so let's begin. So the Vice documentary I'm talking about right now is around 14 minutes long, if I can recall correctly. It was alright. It was neither extravagant nor was it a dumpster fire. It was just right in the middle. You get a number of different viewpoints based off of the people who they interview, of which there are 4. You have Victoria Beach, who's the head of an African American advisory council to the Seattle Police Department. She described the peak of the protests in the city as hell-like. Viewpoint I'm inclined to agree with, not that I don't support the cause. I'll get into that later. She's not fond of defunding the police, but she advocates for reform. She values camaraderie with the Seattle officers and also encourages healing over division. So, she has a lot of viewpoints that I agree with. And then you have Sergio Garcia, who is a Seattle police officer who was at the front lines during the whole CHOP/Chaz chaos that happened last summer, which, if you don't know what that was, it's basically where protesters took over a 6-block zone in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle near downtown. And for 3 weeks, they declared it a police-free zone. Needless to say, it got out of hand. The city government responded very poorly to it. If they did at all, they had basically no response to it. But going back to what I was saying just now, Sergio Garcia seems to understand the anger, but doesn't understand why it's boiled to such a point in Seattle, given that there's no serious track record over here of police officers committing heinous crimes against innocent people. He is also in support of police reform and police accountability, which is some of the things that the protesters ask for. Then you get Trayvon Thompson, who is a militant protester who led some of the protests over the summer. She actively supports defunding the police. She actually advocated for a 50% budget cut to the Seattle Police Department. She doesn't seem to care about how radical or alienating the phrase defund or abolish the police may sound. All she's concerned about is the fact that they already have allies that are coming to the streets with them. She asks that her Caucasian counterparts treat her civilly and seems to almost demand some form of compensation from them. She seems to definitely be one of the more radical protesters. I feel like the documentary could have, showed at least 2 protesters, one radical and one not so radical, basically one who's middle ground, I guess. Then you have Lorena Gonzalez, who is a city council president. She says a number of egregious statements during her screen time, of which I'll be mentioning a few. Once asked what she thinks about Seattleites not being very fond or not being very happy with the concept of defunding the police, she says, and I quote, "In my line of business, when everybody's unhappy, you probably did something right." I don't think this is a wise statement to make, especially if you live under a democratic government, right? A mindset like that will probably just cause you to lose the next election in a freaking landslide. She also makes another statement right here, and me being sort of into local, history, this kind of stumped me quite a bit. She says, quote, "At the end of the day, it would be difficult in one budget cycle to undo 400 years of institutionalized racism in a police department." Now, I'm 97% sure that she's referring to the Seattle Police Department in this statement. That would be like saying that you're going to undo 100 years of my life and personality, right? I have not been around that long. The city hasn't been around that long, much less the city government and the police department, which were formed in the same year. Another statement that she caught me off guard with was, "We've asked the police to solve homelessness, affordable housing issues, mental health crisis, and substance use issues and poverty." Right? I can understand mental health crisis and substance use issues. I'm pretty sure the police department has teams that work on that and prioritize that. But regarding homelessness, affordable housing, and poverty, I don't understand why she brought this up. The fact that she had to use homelessness, affordable housing, and poverty as a justification to defund the police department because of how downhill it's going speaks volumes about the job that she and the city government are doing, or rather not doing, because if anything, that's their job to do. She originally pushed for a 50% budget cut, but lowered it down to 20% because it would be unfeasible to do that without totally abolishing the police department, because you have to have some sort of sense of rationality in politics, am I right? She also claims that the Seattle Police Department only has one mental health professional on their entire crisis response team, of which I do not believe that for a second. I'm pretty sure they have quite a few, if any. Isn't that where part of their budget goes to? But yeah, overall, a lot of shirking of the police department and kind of disregarding their importance in general. It's not the first time I've heard it. In another documentary by a local news station, Como News, there was a clip featuring Councilwoman Lisa Herbold saying that over 90% of the 911 calls made to the police have to do with nuisance-related issues, which is quite a freaking stretch, to say the least. I also want to mention that Trayvon Thompson seems to say during her segment in the documentary, because city leaders only cut 20% out of the Seattle police budget, that it was a sign of city leaders not listening to her calls for a 50% police budget cut, when Councilwoman Gonzalez's words speak otherwise. I think overall, my opinion on the matter, I'm not really fond of defunding the police. If there's any issues that need to be addressed, I would much rather it be done in the form of reforming, however way that may be done, because I'm not a politician and I don't manage all this stuff, obviously. But regarding the protesters, I don't think that they have any bad will in them. I honestly think that they're pushing for something good, and I am for that. But obviously there are some things that I disagree with them on. I do support them for the issues that they're trying to address in our institutions and our departments, because there definitely is a history of racism in the institutions and departments in America. And I do feel like that needs to be addressed. As you can tell, I'm not really a fan of terribly radical thinkers, I sort of think that things should proceed slowly rather than hastily, even though I understand the need for quick social change. I do think that people need to take their time with it, especially in the line of policies that could affect everyone on every level. You need to take your time with it, or else you may end up fucking a lot of people over. And also another thing, Lorena Gonzalez apparently is running for the office of mayor in Seattle. I'd be pretty skeptical of her abilities to carry out that office of mayor if she doesn't even know what the role of a police department is, if she believes that politics is all about making people unhappy, and thinks that the Seattle Police Department has been around for 4 centuries. She missed the mark quite a bit on that one. She really caught me off guard with that. But all that aside, hope you enjoyed this video. Those are my thoughts on this matter. Feel free to leave a comment down below or a suggestion for new video ideas. I'm scrambling for some, and it would be helpful if you just gave your thoughts and tell me what you want to see. Have a good day, have a good night, wherever you are. Goodbye.